Let's talk about the top 6 GMAT preparation tips to score a 715 or higher on the GMAT. Jeff Miller here from Target Test Prep. We have tons of cool videos out there. Best way to study for the GMAT, how to create an effective study schedule. This is geared towards if you want almost a perfect 99th percentile score on the GMAT. So let's get moving. Number 1, you probably know what I'm gonna say, master one topic at a time. Topical studying, topical learning, it's all I talk about in these videos, but I'm telling you, it's so important. And that's for math, that's for verbal, that's for DI. For math, say you take any topic, maybe you take exponents, you learn everything you need about exponents, all those pesky little rules, and then you just get them down, you get the formulas and equations down, and then you practice 50, 60, 70 exponent questions. I'm telling you, when you're done with that practice, you'll know where your gaps are, you'll know where your holes are, and then you'll go back and fix them. Verbal, same deal. You want to do critical reasoning? Don't do every question at once. Do strength in the conclusion, for example. Do about 20, well, first learn about every way that you can strengthen a conclusion, the tips and tricks for that type of topic, and then yes, practice 40 strengthening questions. Telling you by the end, you're gonna feel great with that topic. You're gonna do that across the board. Same goes for DI. You're gonna practice just graphic interpretation questions. So these are all key points because there's so much you need to learn on the GMAT, especially when going for a 715 or higher. So that's one topic at a time. Number 2, and yeah, I get it. You're going for a super high score, but it doesn't mean you're starting at a super high score. So you've got to learn each topic from the ground up. That's right. You start with the basics. You walk before you can run. It's simple. You should see what we do in TTP. In every single math chapter, we're starting with the basics. When you're dealing with number properties, we're talking about positive and negative numbers, even and odd numbers, factoring, before we get into word problems with divisibility or remainders or unit digit patterns. That's how you have to handle everything on the verbal side. And on the DI side too, if you're doing graphics interpretation, are you going to jump in to the hardest graphics interpretation questions? Or are you going to learn about bar graphs, line graphs, scatter plots, stuff like that? So again, learn everything from the ground up in your GMAT prep. Number 3, achieve high accuracy and streaks in your practice. We talk about streaks in a lot of our videos, short videos, blogs. Look, the GMAT will reward streaks of correct answers. Why wouldn't they? That means a correct question after a correct question, etc., etc. So you want to practice that in your practice. Now, what does that mean? It means you can't worry about timing so much. If you have to spend 5 minutes on a question to get it right, do it. That's totally fine, because what you need to start developing is this mentality of streaks of correct answers. Yes, the GMAT is timed. We all know this. But right now, during your practice, it's about high accuracy and high streak rate. Yes, you may get to a marker in a question. If you're 8 to 10 minutes in and you just can't get it, fine. Take a guess, move on. But initially, do your best to get to be the most accurate you can be and develop those streaks of 10, 12 questions or more. I'm telling you, that mentality is going to carry over on test day. 4, I find myself talking about this a lot. Practice dealing with quant questions in multiple ways. That means have multiple tools in your toolbox. One method that I always talk about that relates to this, do I use a smart number or do I use variables? Well, let's say you get into a percent question and it's pretty easy. Are you going to use a smart number in that question? Are you going to say, you know what? I can handle this just using variables. By having multiple ways to deal with that question, you can always make a game time decision of what to do. What's that going to do for you? It's going to make you a better test taker, because you're never going to paint yourself into a corner that you can't get out of. You're going to have multiple ways to attack a question. And remember, when you're going for a 99th percentile, 715 or higher, you're going to need those multiple ways, and you're going to need to be nimble on your feet, know what decisions to make, and the best way and most efficient way to get yourself through a question. So get those tools, add them to your toolbox, and when practicing, use what's best given the question and the circumstances. Number 5, don't use gimmicks or shortcuts in your verbal section or answering verbal questions. You've got to be really careful about that. If you're going for a 715 or higher, you have to be great in verbal. So you can't do things like in reading comprehension, skim a passage just to answer the first question and not actually read it holistically and take notes and make sure you're understanding what you're reading. Or you can't go into a critical reasoning stem, just read one part of it and think you know the answer, or think that pre-thinking is going to be exactly what you need during every critical reasoning question. These are things that are important. This high level of thinking and these high level of strategy in verbal questions is huge, because if you don't have these strategies down and you're not attacking these questions the right way, it's going to be very difficult to get a great verbal score, and thus it's going to be very difficult to get a 715 or higher on the overall GMAT. So really take some time to get your strategies down, make sure they're not gimmicky, make sure they work across the board for all of critical reasoning, all of reading comp, and that's going to give you success on the verbal section and lead to your success on the GMAT. Tip number 6, you got to be super familiar and good with data insights. Yeah, I know it's recently a new section that's added. I mean, it's been a while now, so it's not that recent, but it's strategic on how and when you learn data insights. If you try to jump in day one, that'll be a mistake. Now, what you need to know about data insights, it's pulling things from critical reasoning, it's pulling things from reading comp, and it's certainly pulling things from GMAT math, especially data sufficiency questions, but even the other ones, graphics interpretation, test stats, percents, etc. We'll learn the math topics first. Don't jump into those without knowing the topics that you're being tested on. How about table analysis or two-part analysis? Same deal. All of those quant topics can be present there. And don't forget about MSR, which I want you to do last. That's critical reasoning and a sprinkling of math. So if you learn all the math stuff first, learn all the verbal stuff first, then dig into data insights, it's going to make you that much more successful in that section. And that's the thing you need to do to get a great data insights score and hopefully that 715 GMAT score. All right, that's a wrap on today's video. We talked about some great strategies of how you can get a 715 or greater on the GMAT. Follow those strategies. We talk about those strategies and more in a lot of our other videos too. If you're struggling with quant, watch our video on tips on how to get a great quant score, etc. We have a ton of them out there. If you like this video here, please like it, subscribe to our channel, and as always, I'd love to see comments of videos you want in the future. I'm Jeff at Target Test Prep, and I will see everybody soon.